Last season, Manchester United had the 10th worst defence in the Premier League. That's right, we conceded the 10th most goals out of every single team. We conceded 54 goals in 38 games. Now, you might think that Manchester United got a little bit unlucky. Perhaps the opposition were particularly clinical. But that's what expected goals is for, to rule out that idea. You see, Manchester United, when it comes to expected goals against, were actually the 9th worst, so it gets even worse. And we were expected to concede 53.8 goals. Considering we conceded 54, I would say that was about right. Manchester United last season were conceding 1.4 goals per 90 minutes. However, the start of this season has felt a little bit different. Of course, the results and the performances haven't been perfect, but it does feel as though Manchester United are a little bit better defensively. Do the stats back it up? That is the important question. Well, let's look at the expected goals conceded from the first 3 games in the Premier League this season. Manchester United have conceded 4.2 expected goals in 3 matches, which is 1.4 expected goals again. So actually, on face value, the underlying stats suggest Manchester United are in exactly the same place defensively. But again, when we watch it, that doesn't seem to be the case. So what we have to do is not look at the surface level stats, the number of goals we've conceded, not the underlying stats, the expected goals, but actually just look under the underlying stats. And that's the expected goals from open play. You see, Manchester United have been particularly weak from set pieces. In open play, we're not so bad. We've conceded 0.28, 0.62, and 1.01. That's a total of 1.91 expected goals against in 3 football matches, which averages out at around 0.64 per 90. And in that way, Manchester United suddenly seem a lot better. So if United can improve defensively on the set pieces, then actually we should be in a much better place than what we were last season. And one of the main reasons for that is because of the consistency in the starting 11. Last year, under Ruben Amorim, we only twice saw the same back 3 play 2 games in a row. This season, we've already seen the same back 3 matches back to back, and that consistency is huge. Now, the great thing when you get consistency in a back 3 is players start to understand each other's game, they start to understand what each other are going to do, and they sort of learn off of each other's instincts. For example, when you play together a lot, you know the movements with each other. If we can just find this tool here real quick just to link these guys up, these guys now know what they're doing. So when Luke Shaw goes forward, De Ligt knows roughly where he needs to be. Shaw knows where he needs to be if De Ligt is more aggressive. When you get players playing consistently alongside each other, they naturally understand each other's game just a little bit better, particularly when we are talking about defenders. However, what's also important here though, is that we are not just talking about any 3 defenders. The profiles are really interesting, particularly for when United are trying to defend larger spaces, particularly in open play, where United have been better this season. So let's say United are high up the pitch attacking down the left-hand side. Cunha might be in this position here, but he loses position, and that is trouble. That is a problem because the opposition now have large spaces to attack. Counter-attacking has always been a massive part of football, a massive part of the Premier League, and that is not changing anytime soon. If anything, teams are actually getting better in fast transitioning situations. However, now, with this back 3 that we are currently using, Manchester United have more profiles actually suited to these situations. First of all, we've got 3 players which are mobile. Luke Shaw has never been a slow player. De Ligt has always been someone who is pretty athletic for a centre-back, and Yoro in particular is actually sort of freakish athletically. He is very, very good. But also what we've got importantly is actually a fullback profile, and then again, an incredibly athletic centre-back as the 2 wider centre-backs in the back 3. Last season, for example, we would occasionally see an 11 like this, where we would actually see De Ligt and Maguire both in the back line, and when we were isolated out wide, De Ligt wasn't a slouch, he wasn't terrible, but he wasn't natural in these zones. However, when we move Maguire out of the team and put Luke Shaw in, we have someone who is naturally used to defending these situations because he's a left back, he's a full back, so he's used to defending wide. So perhaps if a De Ligt or a Maguire or even a Lindelof last season was dragged into these positions, the players were uncomfortable. Luke Shaw not so much more comfortable in these positions, a good wide defender, not necessarily the best in the world, but you can see he's still building his sharpness, right? And from these positions, I think he's good. And what that allows United to do is win the ball a little bit higher up the pitch, rather than every time the opposition counter-attack, we get forced back into our own penalty area. In a shooting situation over here, we're actually getting better because of players like Luke Shaw. We're getting better at delaying the opposition and actually killing the attack before it gets started. And of course, we know on the other side, we've got Yoro. Now, he doesn't necessarily have the advantage of being a natural fullback, but what he is just amazing, which is quite useful. You know, he's just very good at football, Yoro, and particularly athletically. He's tall, he's strong, but he's also very quick. He's pretty agile, he changes direction well, and he's got the ability to keep up with a dribbler. So again, on this side is the pitch. When United are dragged over here, rather than having, let's say, a Victor Lindelof in this position trying to defend, we've now got Yoro, someone who is much more physically robust and able to deal with these situations. And that's why, again, United are able to win the ball back a little bit higher. And like I said, it's helped by the fact that in the first 3 league games of the season, these guys have been able to play consistently alongside each other. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we could see that for a stretch of perhaps 8 games and build on that. If you can build a solid defensive unit that plays consistently, then you can see results. Now, the other good thing about these 3 when they play together as a back 3 is actually what they bring to the team on the ball. We know that Manchester United are a team that we think would like to get on the ball and try and dominate possession where possible. To do that, you have to have technically gifted defenders. And particularly in Luke Shaw and Yoro, we've really got that. The first thing we have is a natural balance. Luke Shaw, left-footed on the left-hand side. That's not a luxury that we've always had at this football club. It feels like a small comment to make, but we haven't always had that over the last few years. We've been pushing players into positions where they're just not comfortable. And then Yoro on the right side, right-footed. Again, it's natural, it's comfortable to the players in these positions. We know that these 2, if they've got a bit of time on the ball, generally speaking, have the ability to be progressive. Luke Shaw is one of the best technical defenders on the planet. When he's fit, playing regularly, and he's sharp, there's not many better players at moving a ball forward for his team. He is absolutely phenomenal. Whether that be carrying out from the back, which again he's very capable of because of his fullback and his wing-back days. He's also very capable of playing short passes through the lines into midfield, but also he's excellent at a little clipped ball into the channel over the top for a forward to run onto. In the case of Yoro, I think he needs a bit more refinement. He's not as good as Luke Shaw on the ball. But again, as far as young centre-backs go, I would say he's doing pretty well. He looks comfortable on the ball. He's confident carrying out from the back. Hopefully that is something that can continue to improve. And I think that'll happen with age, more experience and things like that. But I think there's obvious quality on the ball. Then we've got Ligt in the middle. Now, Ligt's a bit more of an interesting one because his role is so much more complicated. He's a centre-back that goes into midfield and plays with his back to goal and receives under pressure, despite not having any of the skill sets to do that. However, despite my concerns still about the whole idea, I think he's been doing it pretty well. I think this idea is capped, but I think De Ligt is taking it towards its peak. I think he's done really well at the start of the season. I've been critical of him in the past, but this year, I think he has started phenomenally. I think De Ligt has been one of our best players in the opening weeks of the season. And his job has been fairly simple at times in this first phase. It's to basically wait for the ball to arrive and then find someone in more space. We know that we have been using our goalkeeper at the start of the season by India. Potentially Le Mans soon. Is he going to come straight in as a starter? I'm not sure. But using our goalkeeper to sort of draw the opposition in from this side, and then we play the ball into De Ligt, and he plays the bounce pass around the corner to Yoro or Luke Shaw, and then we can carry forward from there. So again, technically, I think these guys have done good. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is a continuation of their technical quality, but now a little bit higher up the pitch. I want to talk about why I think the role's important, why I think they are good profiles for the role, but also why I think they need to do much more. So we know that Manchester United are a team that, when we attack fast, we look very dangerous. We discussed that in a video yesterday. One of the most direct teams in the Premier League right now. We look great when we move quick. We get Šeško and Bumo, Cunha, Ahmad, Bruno moving forward. Lovely. But the problems come when the opposition's a bit more resolute defensively. When they are compact behind the ball, Manchester United have majority of possession and are trying to break a team down. That's where United struggle a little bit more, and that's where the back 3 are incredibly important. Again, it is largely going to be the 2 wider centre-backs, Yoro and Luke Shaw. These are the players that are given the licence to step forward a little bit more and be a bit more aggressive. The central centre-back plays a more reserved role. This is more about sitting in the middle, being an option on the ball, but not doing too much more than that, apart from the occasional long switch, which I think that it is getting better at, and we've also got Harry Maguire, who is very good at this. But for the wider centre-backs, they get out licence to step forward a little bit more. Because let's say, as Ahmad makes a run forward, it might drag the opposition's wide midfielder deeper. This now gives Yoro room in front of him to step into. This is where I think we've got 2 players very suited to their jobs, but not currently doing quite enough. We saw in pre-season that Yoro was fantastic at carrying the ball forward. He was genuinely becoming a sort of creative, progressive player for United. Someone that would step forward with free will, really, on the ball and would drive forward down the right-hand side. He would sort of adventure into these positions, into the final third, to try and give United extra numbers, a way of penetrating the opposition's block, if you like. For me, so far since the start of the competitive season, we haven't seen it enough. So Yoro, in terms of profile, is nearly perfect for this, but he's got to become more confident. He's got to do this more freely, more regularly. Same for Luke Shaw on the left-hand side. Again, as far as progressive centre-backs go, you're not going to find anyone better, partly because he's not really a centre-back. He's a full-back. He's used to getting forward. But we know that Luke Shaw can become a genuine creative threat for United. Again, let's say Dorgu and Cunha both make a run forward, and it draws the opposition narrow but also deep. Luke Shaw has room to move into. We saw Lisandro Martinez in this role quite often last season. Luke Shaw in this position, again, is a player with the left foot capability to really be a creative option for us. And that's where this system and this idea that Ruben Amorim is exploring right now can be unique. Because how many teams in world football right now would have their centre-backs stepping so far into the final third that they actually become a creative option? You know, not many teams would do that, certainly in the Premier League right now. That's where United can be unique if we can get things to work. If we can get Luke Shaw forward into this left half space, there is no reason he cannot be absolutely amazing at this job. His delivery into the final third, again, is up there with the very best fullbacks in world football, maybe ever. You know, on his day, he's phenomenal at delivering into the box. And that's why these guys are so important, because they are given that license to step forward. If we're going to do that, they need to be effective. If not, they're stepping forward and clogging up space. They're reducing the spaces for our more creative forwards to express themselves. So if these guys are going to move in there, they've got to do it with confidence, and they've got to do it with intent, with reason. It's no use Luke Shaw just wandering into the final third with the ball at his feet, knowing that he is capable but not really going to do anything. That's a waste of time. If they're going to go into those positions more aggressively, further forward, they have to bring something to the team. And that's where I want to praise them and say, as individuals, as profiles, they've really got the potential to be dangerous in this system. But I also want to criticise them a little bit, because right now, I don't think they're doing quite enough. Now, we should be patient. Yoro is an incredibly young, inexperienced footballer. Perhaps not fully confident yet, because he hasn't got the minutes behind him to sort of lean on in difficult moments. So we shouldn't be too harsh. Luke Shaw is a player who has had a lot of injury problems, so he's not exactly match sharp and up to speed with the intensity of the Premier League. But it's just something to keep an eye on, because I think the quality is there. I rate them both so highly as footballers. As outside centre-backs in a back three, I really don't think you could get too much better than these two. I think they are that good at football and going to be that good for Manchester United this season. But I just want to test that confidence. I want to see if we can ask them to do just a little bit more, because I think it can be a unique weapon for us. All in all, I think you can see that I like the vibe of this back three. I like what they bring. I like the blend of different qualities, the different strengths and weaknesses. The only real concern I have is, well, there's two. One is that I don't think aerially it is amazing. Luke Shaw is good in the air for a fullback, but for a centre-back, he's not great. De Ligt has proven to be stronger in the air than what I thought he would be. He sort of proved me a little bit wrong with the aerial situation, but he's still not Harry Maguire. No one is. Yoro, again, potentially going to be great in the air someday. Right now, not absolutely amazing, right? We do see strikers peel onto him as opposed to De Ligt. Gyökeres in the first game couldn't get away from De Ligt, so peels to Yoro and had a bit more success. So we need to get a little bit stronger in the air, and sort of in theme with that, the box defence concerns me a little bit. Not because I think any of them are bad box defenders, but I think because they all have the ability to switch off. De Ligt has moments where he'll be amazing for 3 months in a row, but he can have that lapse of concentration. Luke Shaw at the back post can do the same. Yoro as well. That's what needs to be polished. That's what needs to be removed from their game if possible, or certainly as much as possible. We need to help with their concentration and making sure they are switched on. If we can do that, I do believe Manchester United have got a very, very good back three. A very, very good back three that if they can build a relationship with the goalkeeper behind them, the wing-backs outside them, and the midfielders in front, genuinely do have the quality to lead Manchester United to a charge, to a position to play Champions League football next season. I believe they are that good. But that's just my opinion. Those are just my thoughts. I want to hear yours in the comments down below. How highly do you rate this back three? How can we improve it with different players coming in? For example, Lisandro Martinez when he returns from injury. Harry Maguire, Mazraoui. We do have options. So how highly do you rate this back three? And do you think Manchester United are improving defensively? Or is it just that the stats are a little bit generous. Perhaps we played weaker opposition in the opening weeks of the season. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, because I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on this. The initial raw data doesn't make Manchester United look that much improved defensively, but I think when we dig a little bit deeper and look at the open play expected goals, I think we see something a little bit different. Plus, there's all that quality on the ball. I'm excited. I like it. It's not perfect, but there's a lot to work with. Like I said, just my thoughts. I want to hear yours in the comments. But apart from that, we are finished for today. So thank you guys very much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like, subscribe, and also get notifications on. And I will see you in the next one.